Okay, this will be a very short little lesson video. It's for Unit 5, Lesson 7, Part B. And this is examples, I think, 11 through like 16, maybe. It's 6 problems going over composition of functions. So we have our different functions like f of x, g of x, maybe even h of x. And composition functions are where you put one function or equation inside another equation. And it's super, super awesome. Okay, so it says another method to combine functions is called a composition. Okay, when you compose something, you're putting them together. Given f of x and g of x, the composite function f of g of x, that's how this is read. Okay, this right here that I'm underlining, it's f of, that's an O, not a time sign. So f of g looks like fog of x is defined as, okay, and we would say f of g of x. Now you can literally see that this g of x function has been put inside of f, okay? And a lot of times I like to think of it as this, the one that's closest to the x, like up here that I'm circling, g of x, that equation goes inside the first one. It goes inside of f, okay? And we put it in for all of its x's. So we're used to putting like a number in for x's, and now we're putting a whole equation inside for x in another equation. And again, that'll make more sense as we continue on with these notes. Okay, so we are given 3 different equations here at the top. Okay, we have f of x is equal to x cubed plus 8. We have g of x is equal to x minus 1. And h of x is equal to 5x minus 3. And then it says find each function. So let's start with number 11. Number 11 is read f of g of x, and it does look like fog. A lot of times I call these fog and goff and hog, but those are just nicknames, okay? So what we're going to do, though, is I'm going to circle this g of x function. Okay, that's my highlighter. And again, that g is closest to x. That's my second function. It goes inside my first function, f. So let's even write down those 2 functions. F of x, okay, is x cubed plus 8. And g of x is x minus 1. So this whole thing, the x minus 1, that is the g of x, and we circled it up here. So this x minus 1 is going in for x's in the f equation. Okay, so what would that look like? We would say our f of g of x will be equal to, we're going to put parentheses, and we're going to put x minus 1 inside there, and then cubed. Okay, we just substituted x minus 1 in for the x, and then plus 8. Now this is quite a fun little problem we get to do here, because this part right here, x minus 1 cubed, means we have x minus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 1. It's 3 times. So remember, when we have to multiply 3 sets of binomial, we need to chunk it out. We can only FOIL with 2 binomials at a time, and I like to start with my last 2 on the right and work my way in. So we'll FOIL what I have boxed up here. So we have x times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is minus 1x. Then minus 1x again. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. The middle 2 combine to make x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now that goes back in parentheses, and we will bring down x minus 1 to multiply to it again. So now we distribute again with x to x squared, and we have x cubed. X to negative 2x makes negative 2x squared. X to positive 1 makes a plus 1x. And then we come back underneath, and we take negative 1 and multiply it to x squared, so minus 1x squared. Negative 1 to negative 2x makes positive 2x. Negative 1 to positive 1 makes negative 1. And move this up a little bit. Okay, combine like terms again. Okay, we start with our x cubed, and it's going to stay x cubed, crossed off. Then we have negative 2x squared minus 1x squared is negative 3x squared. And then our x's, we have 1x and 2x to make positive 3x, and then bring down negative 1. So notice right now we have done the x minus 1 cubed, and what was after that was a plus 8. So let's bring that down to the end of this equation, plus 8. Now that plus 8 is also a constant, just like negative 1, so we can combine those 2 as like terms, and that will be our last step. F of g of x is x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x, and negative 1 plus 8 is positive 7. Okay, and that would be f of g of x. We put the g equation inside the f. So the second one goes inside the first. Now let's look at what we have on number 12. It's read h of g of x. So again, I start with my one that's closest to the x. That second function, g, is going inside of h this time. Again, second goes inside the first. So h of x is 5x minus 3. G of x is x minus 1. So again, we take that second, which was g of x, and we're going to put it in the x's for h. And because there's no exponents on the h of x equation, this one will actually be a lot more simple than our last problem. So let's write this out. H of g of x. We're going to start with our h function, which is 5, and then we're going to get parentheses because we got to this x right here, and we're substituting in x minus 1. Okay, close it up, and then we put minus 3. Now we just work our problem out left to right. We distribute 5 into the parentheses. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. We're done multiplying. We drop down our negative 3. Okay, we're done multiplying, so we combine like terms. Negative 5 and negative 3 make negative 8, so our answer is 5x minus 8. So that one was a lot more simple because we didn't have any exponents to apply to the problem. Okay, so it just depends on how we're being told to plug one function inside the other, and that will determine how much work we have to do. Sometimes there's more work, sometimes there's less. Okay, number 13. Okay, notice we're using the same 3 different equations up top, but this time we are being told to find f of h of x. So again, I start by finding my one closest to x, which is the h of x. That's my second function. The second goes inside the first. So h is going inside of f. So f, I like to kind of write them out so I can see them really good. F of x is x cubed plus 8. And h of x that we're using is 5x minus 3. So again, what we're being asked to do is take the h of x, which is 5x minus 3, and put it into f's x's. Okay, so we have our equation will be f of h of x, and if we're going to start off with an x right here, so we have parentheses, and we're going to put 5x minus 3, and then we put cubed, and then plus 8. So it's very similar to number 11 that we did just a moment ago. Okay, ooh, I did not mean to do that. So we're going to move this. I'm just trying to move it up. There we go. We're going to write out 5x minus 3 times because it's cubed. Remember, the exponent tells you how many times you have to multiply something. And then we'll drop down that plus 8 when we're done multiplying. So again, chunk it out. We're going to multiply 2 binomials at a time. So we have 5x times 5x for 25x squared. 5x times negative 3 is negative 15x. Negative 3 times 5x is another negative 15x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Our middle two still combine as like terms, so we have 25x squared minus 30x plus 9. Again, wrap that up in parentheses because now we have to multiply it to the other 5x minus 3, that third one. And we distribute again. So 5x times 25x squared is 125x cubed. 5 times negative 30 is negative 150x. 5x times 9 is a positive 45x. Okay, come to my negative 3, and it's turn to get distributed. We have negative 3 times 25x is negative 75x squared. Oh, this 150 has an x squared. Sorry. Okay, negative 3 times negative 30x is positive 90x's, and negative 3 times positive 9 is negative 27. So we have some like terms to combine here before we can move on. I start with my 125x cubed. There's no other x cubed, so it comes down. So sorry if you noticed that I forgot to put that squared on at the beginning, but we found it. Happens. Negative 150 and negative 75 make negative 225 x squared. 45x's and 90x's make positive 135x's, and then minus 27. Okay, now that we're done with that, this positive 8, that constant that was, that came after my exponents, we're just going to bring it down and say plus 8. Okay, it is like terms with negative 27, and that makes negative 19. So we get pin's gone, 125x cubed minus 225x squared plus 135x minus 19. Okay, that's our final answer. And I will say you do not have any this complicated on your Excel today. Okay, not so much multiplying. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, and then number 14 will be a little bit more simple. We have g of f of x. So again, it's all about making sure you plug the right equation inside the other. It's always the second. So f of x this time is going in for the g function. So what are these two functions? Okay, g of x is x minus 1. And f of x is x cubed plus 8. So the second function, we said f of x goes inside the first equation, g of x is for its x's. So I would start off, okay, by saying, okay, g of f of x is equal to, I have an x, so I'm going to put parentheses, and I'm going to put x cubed plus 8 inside for x, and then it's minus 1 to finish it off. Again, I use that equation for g of x. Now notice I don't have anything in front of my parentheses or any exponent, so there's nothing to apply. I don't even need the parentheses. It's x cubed plus 8 minus 1, and my like terms are 8 minus 1. So the final answer is x cubed plus 7. Again, some are harder than others, but again, second equation inside the first. And then Excel will have you do it both directions, and I'll try to add an example of that, how Excel will do some of these at the end of the video. Okay, on 15 and 16, we're going to be substituting a number value in for x's, and about half of your homework problems will be done like this, and I feel like it's just a little bit easier when we're dealing with in terms of numbers. Looks like we're using the same functions for f, g, and h, but again, there's not a little x inside the parentheses, there's a number, but it's still the second value that we find. Okay, we're going to do that first, and it goes inside the first function. So on 15, this is read g of h of 2. So I'm going to circle this second part just like I did before. The first thing we're going to do is find h of 2, and that answer goes in for the x's in the g function. So it's still the second part goes into the first part. That part hasn't changed. So finding h of 2. Okay, the h function, let me circle it, is right here. It's 5x minus 3. So we're plugging 2 in for the x. So 5, instead of x, we're going to do parentheses and put 2, and then minus 3. Okay, and we're going to get a value for that. H of 2 is equal to 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay, so we have a value. That 7 is now going in to the g function. Okay, so we're going to find g of 7, okay, because that's what h of 2 equals, and we said h of 2 goes into g. So what is g of 7? G is x minus 1. So if we plug 7 in for x, we're doing 7 minus 1, which is 6, and that is our answer. Okay, it's a number value. We always get a number answer once we put a little number inside the parentheses. When x is in the parentheses, our answer is in terms of x. When we have a number, we're going to get a number answer. So that was pretty simple. Let's look at number 16. 16 is read as h of f of negative 6. So we're going to take this second function, okay, f of negative 6. That's what we're going to find first, and that answer goes into the h function's x's, and then we'll compute that part. So we're going to start by finding f of negative 6. Again, it's always the second, and put it inside the first. You're probably sick of hearing me say that, but that's how it works. Second into first. So it's x cubed plus 8 that we're working with for f. So I'm going to do parentheses and put negative 6 inside, cubed plus 8. So negative 6 cubed plus 8 is equal to negative 208. Okay, and then we're going to take this answer of negative 208 and we're going to put it inside of the h function. So we're going to do h, and we're going to say of negative 208. It's going in for the x's in the h function. So that would be right here. I'm going to underline it in green again. So 5, and then x, we'll replace that with negative 208, and then minus 3. And again, this can all be typed into your calculator because it's all numbers, and that is equal to negative 1,043. And it's done. So again, I feel like there's 5 or 6, the last 5 or 6 on the homework today, there are 10 questions, are done with number values like this. And there's only these 2 examples here on the lesson notes. If you feel stuck, just come in and ask me for help, and I'm more than happy to help you with it. But give it a try. Look at the examples on the Excel video or notes and problems if you need more help, but I feel like you got it. Good luck.